You want them to do. Okay, so the biggest thing that I want to really make clear to everybody is this is not a training simulation. We are not at Starfleet Academy, inside Starfleet Academy, doing the Kobayashi Maru on new recruits. People play video games so much that they believe that their exterior reality is a video game too. Full immersion in video games makes people believe that the world, when you take the video game off, is the same as when you're wearing the video game. So you get massive distortions in people's reality map. The Galactic Federation of Light continues to show itself to me a lot. And I know I made a video, I don't know, some time ago where I said that they were phony baloney. Because they haven't helped me out at all, and I'm a TI, a targeted individual. And so, therefore, everybody must come to a full and complete understanding that organized darkness is real, and they have lots and lots of money. Do you remember the trilogy of the Omen movies? Damien Thorne is the story about. Thorne Industries. Lex Luthor, Luthor Corp. Same guy. They're shopping at the beer store. Not B-E-E-R. B-I-E-R. And you're going to go, Bob. I don't know what that word is, Bob. I understand beer, drinking out of a bottle is, cold, juicy. But beer, B-I-A-R, that's like, I don't know, smart people are going to say, that sounds like a German spelling of a word. Beer. No, that doesn't, that sounds like General Montgomery of the British Army. There we go. Beer. I don't know exactly how I am related to General Montgomery of World War II. Well, it's just that, my grandmother's maiden name is Montgomery. And somewhere along the line, there must have been the first Montgomery, and there was somewhere, in Great Britain, I would say. So, if his name was Montgomery, and my name was Montgomery, then you would say, well, somewhere along the line, you must have a common ancestor somewhere, or someone changed their name to Montgomery. My other grandmother's maiden name is Wallace. Do you remember Braveheart with Mel Gibson, the story of William Wallace? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, now how exactly am I related to this guy? Ninian Sanderson and his partner, Ron Flockhart, won the 24 Hours of Le Mans car race in France. Ninian Sanderson is a cousin of mine, not a first cousin. That's difficult. My grandmother was very fond of Ninian Sanderson, but he never came to Thunder Bay to meet us. But my grandmother followed anything to do with, if they talked about Ninian, she lit up because she just loved cars. And Ninian, well, there's nothing better. My grandmother always said if she had her druthers and she wanted a rich man's car, she wanted a Jaguar. She never got one. So, it's just that, people who have developed this horrible technology, the technology is so horrible that they do something so that, that's electronic itch of my nose. You can look up the Havana attacks on the U.S. Embassy by Cuba using microwave attack, and microwaves can cause itch, and they can cause a burning sensation too. So they just made the sensation on here, and then they did something. They do something to your hand where they make your hand, my hand, feel like somebody else's hand, the hand of a rapist. They do. They put an energy somehow for me to experience of this hand being a foreign hand and the hand of someone who is a rapist, a real rapist. And they put that in remote neural monitoring torture machine, puts it into your head. So, if I got that feeling in my hand, I don't want to touch my skin, because this skin still feels like me, with this foreign feeling hand. So I got to do it this way. So there's no direct contact. When I was doing research on electronic harassment, they say that the patterning of beams of various forms of energy can, you send a pattern pulse to brain tissue, and, with enough of their experimentation, they found a way, there more than one way, to induce thought in your brain from external places, including physical sensations, including sensations that there's people flying around here. That's called, if you look it up, I don't think I got the exact pronunciation, but it's proprioception. It's not the right word, but it's close. It's a scientific word, and it has to do with like your inner ear balancing and things like that. And the idea of proprioception is, if you close your eyes, you have a sense of where your hand is. Where is your hand? That sense that knows where your hand is called proprioception. Not quite, maybe close to that word. So it's a sense that you have innately in you. And it can be hijacked by remote neural monitoring technology, so that you think that there's something here floating around your head, and clearly there's not, but to your mind, to your brain says there's something here. That's how hijacked you do experience. I experienced Chief Clancy Wiggum of The Simpsons, that comic book character who is a voice that's beamed into me of an actual person like Ed Harris from The Truman Show movie. And so, with electronic remote neural monitoring and all this stuff that they do, they triggered an incredible pattern which induced thought in me that Clancy Wiggum flew, proprioception-wise, he was out here, and he flew into my hip. And then, with the remote neural monitoring, they gave me an incredible feeling of pain in my hip. Switching gears, many times radio stations will advertise the reason why you should use radio advertising. And what they tell you is the theater of the mind is acceptable to everybody. They changed the word right there. That's why I stutter stepped. The theater of the mind. Stereo music gives you a theater. You close your eyes and you get the music, and you get, right and left channel. And, in the 1970s they had quadraphonic stereo, and then you could buy that Who album called Quadrophenia. I don't know exactly what format it would be, but it's supposed to be 4-track instead of 2-track. And then modern day, well, I don't know, you're all looking at me, but yeah, this is the history of, music. And then modern day, you get subwoofers and all kinds of little speakers all over the place. And the radio advertising guy's going to say, yeah, it works good, theater of the mind. Because you let us play with this, and you got to say, well, I don't know, how long has radio been around for? 100 years? You got 100 years of us perfecting Foley artist, which is making sound effects. And with stereo, we can make sound effects appear to be proprioception over here or over here. So you're used to the idea that with stereo, you go to the movie theater, and you go to the advanced theater, and you get that surround sound and stuff. It creates a proprioception of whatever it is that they want to produce, a solid wall of sound. And sometimes the music engineer is going to want to accentuate maybe this guitar riff, and they're going to turn up the guitar on that guy that's the guitarist. And other times turn them back a little bit and maybe turn up the voice because they can't quite hear it enough. You got to do something to change the muddiness of that. And it's all done. And they got all that's old tech. And it's old, so they still got all that stuff. And you just go throw it into remote neural monitoring, and then you got a whole database of other stuff that you can do to torture people by this remote control thing that nobody knows about, because when they turned it on to you, when was the last time you had an earbud? Didn't anybody, pipe through and say, this is an earbud, I'm Joe Schmo from South Texas, Arlington, Texas, and a trailer, and, I'm doing more and more people are wondering why. Because over and over again, I just get the feeling that the people that do a lot of drone strikes are housed in trailers in Texas, working for the U.S. Is it the Army or the Air Force that does that? It blows people up in Yemen by a Raptor or something, remote drone. Remote control killing seems to be the American way in Texas. In the olden days, Texas Rangers, they went out there with, a hand pistol on their holster, and, they dealt with bad guys, mano a mano. Modern day, these are the most chicken shit devils you're ever going to find, because they don't even tell you that you're being bedeviled. I don't know. First time I got that earbud, I don't know. I can't remember. Probably, I don't know. I was a kid. So, this technology, remote neural monitoring, that, people are thinking, well, just new. No, it was there before I was born. And I'm 57. So what's the difference between then and now? Because, they could have turned on the voice and, started torturing me in those years. Why did they wait until this particular juncture to start torturing Bobby Burrows? Okay, this will be channeled in, but the answer is we don't really understand the nature of evil people. We pretty much figure out that evil people want to test the waters a lot to see what is the reaction to their evil. Are they immediately going to be found out and punished, or is it going to go under the radar? And if it does go under the radar, then they're going to push forward and push forward and push forward and push forward. And if nobody stops them from doing their evil, they're going to continue to build out more and more evil devices. Well, it seems like a long time. I don't know, 40 years ago. I don't want to tell you again and again and again. But we don't know the nature of the reality that we're really in. And the evil people don't either. Even though they're going to tell you over and over again that they understood long before you came around, because they've been around for thousands of years, and they're born back into bloodlines, and they're trained and trained and trained and trained, and what the previous generations did to control people on planet Earth. And Stuart Wilde will talk about the interdimensional people who are in similar dimensions to us, but we don't see them and we don't interact with them, but they interact with us. This example you can see in the movie The Nutcracker from maybe 2018, The Nutcracker. They showed you multiple realms. And in some realms, you could peer into other realms and see what people were doing. And those realms traveled at a different rate of speed. And those realms, well, they didn't show those people able to peer into the realms that could see into them. So it's unfair. It's an unfair setup. Anyways, we want to know why is it that, if they could electronically assault me when I was 10 years old and hijack me the way I am now at 57, why didn't they? The answer again and again and again is part of the big game that Sananda called the Great Play in Consciousness. I saw Sananda many times 25 years ago through a channel. So part of the play in consciousness are these strange questions. It's like, these things are like strange questions. And a lot of the questions come up is like, this is irrational, that this is the way it is. So the root of all evil is stupid. And if you pass down these ideas about controlling others and enslaving others and you being, the evil emperor, that programming has got to be wiped clean, and you need to have new programming that everybody does get into kindergarten. Because the programming of torture and control has nothing to do with kindergarten. Is it? So what are you going to tell me? Humanity should be based on the programming of love that you learn in kindergarten, or of torture and control that you learned from Scott Dougal of Google. Wasn't Scott loved? Why does Scott feel like he needs to run Google, and Google needs to use electronic monitoring of me so that Scott can feel safe at night? Because that's what this whole thing is based in. Spying on other people is because you're in deep fear that other people are out to get you. So it's paranoia. But on planet Earth, paranoia is not a mental disease because there are lots of evil people. And we all know how much bullying went on in schools. So there is a deep insecurity and fear that makes people who have the ability and the wherewithal to make spying devices make them. And when you learn that there are indeed unbelievably evil people out there, then you want to develop the device that was shown to you in Star Trek, the original series. The episode is Mirror, Mirror. And in the mirror world, the Starship Enterprise in the captain's quarters has a device called neural remote monitoring, like what they use on me, where you can spy on anybody, anywhere, and that device has the ability to kill a targeted person. What does remote neural monitoring system do? Same thing. Spies on you completely, yes, and it can kill you, yes. Why aren't I dead? Because they're very surprised that I'm not dead. The biggest surprise of Scott Dougal, of Google, and everybody else that's using remote neural monitoring, torture and murder device, is that I'm not dead. Because I was told before, it was piped in on a channel, that if you had on a scale to 1 to 10, and if you turn the dial to 10, you kill the targeted individual. They turned it to 15. I'm still here. Genesis 101. In the beginning, God created heaven. What else does it say? God created the heaven and the earth. It's just that I got to read it upside down. Who the fuck are you to play God? Somebody who's trying to defend yourself from attack. Isn't it true? It just described it. Okay, so why are we going back? Because we need to revise. We need to understand that these industrial disease, Rumpelstiltskin calls it industrial disease, that are inherited, not really, they're just, living here on planet Earth means that we're Earthlings. We know the score. That's electronic remote neuralizing my skin. Again, to demonstrate, that's not me. That, again, is why I have to hold my hand under here so that it doesn't go flapping around by remote control. I don't know. We go quite a far. I got to take a break.